Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the GAIA Daily for January 10th through 14th, 2022. Wow. Well, here we are in a new year trying to birth a new reality. And it's a really intense time of our whole world rearranging, our personal world and the collective. So we're heading into Mercury retrograde. Mercury is now come into a sextile with Chiron at 8 degrees of Aquarius and Chiron at 8 degrees of Aries. Then Mercury on Friday will take a retrograde starting at 10 degrees Aquarius, retrograde back into Capricorn. So for the next couple of weeks, we've got a double retrograde energy, Venus retrograde, Mercury energy retrograde, and it's a feeling of absolute inertia. And coming on the heels of the square that we're still feeling of Jupiter and the nodes, the feeling of being in between time. And this feeling is going to extend throughout the month of January. And it's very uncomfortable on some level because everything is rearranging, but it's also really good because we need this time to adjust and surrender. We are having months of our personal planets and asteroid Juno in conjunction to Pluto. We had 3 weeks in December, 3+ of Venus conjunct Pluto. And now what we're feeling is the sun beginning to come into a conjunction with Pluto. So all of these personal planets in conjunction with Pluto, and because of the retrograde spending so much time there, it's about a complete transformation and breakdown of all the structures of our lives. So no wonder we're in retrograde season. It all kind of fits together, although it's not very comfortable. We are poised here on at the edge of a whole new reality, but we're attached to the way we've been doing it before. And so these energies are allowing us to make this massive adjustment and to surrender to these changes. So let's talk it through. So Mercury retrograde in sextile to Chiron is really powerful because Mercury and Venus retrograde at the same time is really intense. And there's just no way around the intense kind of feelings of vulnerability and it's an inward journey with Black Moon Lilith square to Neptune and Pallas Athene. It is an inward journey into the deepest parts of our psyche that have not been expressed. Now, this is interesting because the Chiron, Mercury turning retrograde is like, especially with Venus already retrograde in the Capricorn journey of getting serious and having to face the music. But the beautiful thing is that this sextile with Chiron is changing the flavor of this Mercury retrograde and kind of telling us what this is all about. Because Mercury turns retrograde at 10 degrees on Friday in Aquarius and then goes back into Capricorn. So 3 times we'll cross over the Capricorn Aquarius cusp. So this is speaking to Mercury retrograde is all about rearranging our conceptual reality, our perspective, our mind. And so this is saying what needs to get rearranged in order to move forward into the Aquarian Age. And so that's a really powerful energy. And in sextile to Chiron in Aries, the wounds over where we've given our life force and our power away, where we've given our freedom away in order to stay alive and to get along and be a part of the group and all of that. Because Aries wants freedom more than anything, but it's also a very lonely journey. And so there's deep unresolved grief and emotions from this whole Piscean age and reflected in the last couple of years of what we've experienced in this current planetary evolutionary state we're in that is so crazy. So Mercury sextile Chiron is saying moving into the Aquarian Age is about claiming back our life force and our power. And how many of us supernova souls, and we see it in the world, are just making it through life. Chiron and Aries is like, we're here to live. And it's time for us. So moving into the Aquarian age and making the successful transition, which is claiming back our spiritual evolution, requires us to fully live. Like we don't have a choice. We can't partially live like we're on the way to dying anymore, like most of us have been. And it's that whole thing with all these ending of cycles and beginning of new cycles. And it's like you come to the end and you can't take that shit with you. Change is always, it's like we say we want change. We want our life to, most supernova souls feel that their life, the structures of their life do not support their full expression. It's kind of the paradigm we've been in. But what if that all changed tomorrow? Are you really ready to let it all go? Can you really surrender to the new? Even positive changes, and the best, most positive changes are still scary and require quite a bit of psychological dealing with things. And that's exactly the energy of these retrogrades. So it's kind of like we are being asked to wait a minute, rewind. Let's get this right. Let's get this right. That's kind of the energy of Capricorn. It's like systematically that mountain goat, 1 foot in front of the other, climbing that mountain. And so at the same time, we're rewriting the rules of our reality, though. And we all want this change so bad. But when it comes and it lands right in your plate in front of you, in your path, it's hard because it's like, well, wait a minute. How do I even know this is good change? And how can I trust it? And what am I even doing? And I don't know who I am because everything is rearranging. And it's a good thing, but it's also very, very uncomfortable. It's that snake in the snake skin just before it sheds. It's when we go to make big changes in our life, inevitably it's going to be uncomfortable, no matter how positive they could be. And then with everything we've gone through in our PTSD of the Piscean age, it's like hard to trust that change could be positive. And this is the energy of these times. It's really about this massive rearranging, is about us claiming that life force, claiming that full living, and that full life of the full expression of what we came here to do. This is our only choice. So it's really interesting because even though this Mercury retrograde is like, it's this sextile with Chiron, because it makes a sextile today exact, change, moves, begins to turn retrograde on Friday, and then we'll go back into this sextile with Chiron. And it's saying, you guys, here it is. Here's the missing key. Chiron is the key. And it's like, we can't go on half-ass and call it life anymore. It's not going to work because the powers of control are out to take our life force. They've been feeding on our life force this whole time. The whole matrix paradigm is fed by our energy. So that's a big change. And that's what's required. And that's the story of this Aquarian age, shift into the Aquarian age. Something's really important that's coming forward, though, that's a helpful energy of Aquarius, is this way bigger perspective, like, whoa, visionary, like, let's look at the big picture here. And the big picture is like, okay, this whole story, this whole evolution has been about the control energy is trying to hold it back so that we don't evolve beyond their energetic frequency. Because once we evolve beyond their energetic frequency, they can't exist in our world. And so everything through thousands of years, masterminded back in the age of Aquarius. I mean, I think it was an age of Aquarius in the Atlantean time. And this whole elaborate plan to make sure that we never evolve so that they can continue to feed on our energy. So if everything you've experienced, like in the tragedies and traumas of the Piscean age, but it's all about trying to prevent this leap. If we keep this in mind, it can really help us, because those of us who seems as supernova souls getting the message that it's time for us to, or we're here to lead the way in this. Because we have prior soul experience. We haven't let go of our soul essence. We haven't succumbed to the matrix. We still have that direct connection. So it's up to us to make this leap and stand for humanity. But keeping that perspective is like, oh yeah, that's what this is all about. And so basically that's why that Mercury sextile Chiron is so powerful because it's like, oh, this is the backstory. This is the deeper truth of what's going on. And if you really simplify it down, so our life, our new direction, no matter what is going on in the rearranging of our psyche and our life and the structures of our life with all these Pluto transits, it's all about actually living and claiming back our spiritual evolution. Do you notice that everything right now is about distraction? This whole paradigm is set up to keep us in conflict with each other, divide and conquer, to keep us in fear, to keep us in trauma, to make sure that we just what? We don't fully live. So this is the key to everything. And yet, really making those changes and those steps in our lives to fully move forward and allow the structures. This is the first inkling in this astrology that's speaking to the massive rearranging of the structural reality of our conceptual mind and our outside reality, the collective, the personal, to finally begin to shift to support you in your full expression. We have not had that energy yet. It's all been working against, working against, working against. You know, it's that like that divine timeline that got distorted and absconded and twisted and interrupted. And then how do you get back on it? And we were talking about that, like, oh, we're making these leaps to try to catch up to where we should be technologically and spiritually. But when we make those big leaps, it's like totally disorienting and confusing. And that's exactly where we are right now, because we're still feeling for a few more days this next week, Jupiter in square to the nodes, but Jupiter moves tomorrow, actually not till the 13th. So just before Mercury turns retrograde. It's just, you can't make this shit up. Jupiter's like finally moving to 3 degrees. That's new territory because Jupiter only made it to 2 degrees Pisces last spring, just putting his feet in the water and then retrograding back into Aquarius and the high drama of that transition over the Aquarius Pisces cusp, the shift of ages. Now Jupiter's ready to move into this new energy. And Jupiter in Pisces is a very beautiful energy for us to work with. It's like going to get the beautiful, mystical revelation energies of the Piscean age. In order to get fully out of the Piscean age, we have to go get that magic that was buried with the scrolls under the rubble and bring it back out to the light. Now, well, that's interesting because we've got Black Moon Lilith in square to Neptune in Pisces, and Neptune in Pisces is hanging out with Pallas Athene, asteroid goddess of justice and strategy. Fighting without fighting, and using the acumen of the mind and the intuition. You know, she's a warrior, but she's in feminine form. So it represents like the masculine and the feminine both being used to be able to finagle our way out of difficulties and conflict with the least violence. This is why this is taking so long. You know, like all the powers that be want to bring us to this crisis point. So we have a civil war, so that we have a breakdown, so that we have, you know, just so that we can never get over this hump, you know? And again, it comes to this whole thing of like, what is the whole point? Well, their whole point, it's really, we are in a spiritual war, and there's forces that have been trying to support us in our spiritual evolution and ascension and awakening. And then there's those forces that are trying to hold it back. Now, those forces that are trying to hold it back are not operating in the laws of karma. And so they are never have to pay for what they've done to us. And Pallas Athene hanging out with Neptune and Pisces, it's like, so maybe this is another message of what we, in order to get into the Aquarian age, you know, with this full gamut of astrology right now, you know, Mercury retrograde, Aquarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and then, so we're dealing with the Capricorn energies of laws, rules, restrictions, and time and karma that is keeping us from moving into the Aquarian age. And so really, really powerful because with that Black Moon Lilith square Neptune and Pallas Athene, it's about spiritual justice. Like we have to have spiritual justice or we cannot get anywhere. That means the way that we see, we're just like the creation energies, God source, you know, the law is about life-giving or working against life. And so we are having to, I mean, we know that we can't really get anywhere in this evolution until those that have wronged us for so many thousands of years to be held accountable, these forces. And then how can we hold them accountable when we're still loyal to them? So this is the huge energy because along with this, so the Black Moon Lilith in Gemini in square to Pallas Athene and Neptune. Black Moon Lilith, deepest, darkest secrets. Gemini, it's what's not been expressed. This is interesting because when we think of Black Moon Lilith, there's definitely like, ooh, dark sexual distortions, like our deepest shame and our deepest things, and then from our culture and society too. But for the supernova soul, that deepest dark Gemini, Black Moon Lilith energy has to do with where you haven't expressed who you really are. You know, where you haven't felt safe and supported to bring forward your gifts and skills. Now, wait a minute, because we just talked about this whole astrology being about reworking and transforming the structures of our life to better support the truth of who we are spiritually. But we are so used to the way we've been doing it for so long. And so how do you receive the new? How do you surrender? How do you trust? And we don't have a choice to trust right now because these squares and the mutable energy, because Black Moon Lilith and Gemini square square Neptune and Pallas Athene and Pisces is mutable. So the mutable squares just bring massive confusion, which is everything we've been talking about, because it's like, and because we've had Jupiter square the nodes. So we've got these two mutable squares, and it's like, oh yeah, everything's rearranging. You're not even going to recognize this place, you know? And it's like, but where are you in that process? And that's where these retrogrades kind of come at a very helpful time, even though it's not very comfortable. And it feels like with this Mercury retrograde and Venus at the same time, the most vulnerable places and everything we haven't faced. And like we're just being asked to rewind back into those places so that they get fully resolved. And then Black Moon Lilith, the deepest, darkest secrets that we've been avoiding, maybe since Atlantean time. That's not easy. So the karmic shift is about to hit the fan. And it's not gonna, it just is not, there's no way it's gonna be pretty. But that Mercury sextile Chiron is a sweet, sweet energy being like, you can do this. This is about taking back your power. Don't run from it anymore. So many of us have been like, this is part of the place they keep us in survival mode. And it's like, well, I just got to get through, right? That life half lived. Now, always chasing our tail in the illusion of time. You know, never giving ourselves the time and space to come into our spiritual experience and our expression of the greater truth of who we are, because we're constantly just trying to get through. And this half-ass way of living, even though we're so used to it, we don't even realize we're not fully living. But it's not going to work. It's not sustainable. We can't keep going the way we're going. And so it's almost like we're at that end of the road place where it's like, all right, are you going or are you not? Because you got to just brave the storm and hunker down, go into these deepest inner places, this Black Moon Lilith square Neptune. And for supernova souls, it's where you were persecuted in the Piscean age, where you're still holding shame from that, and where you maybe don't feel like you deserve to have your voice and your expression. But why the heck are you here? This is the energy that Chiron is helping us to frame this whole thing. It's like, why are you here? Are you here to go along with their program, even though you came from a higher evolved place? And are you here to just half-ass do this shit? Or are we going to really frickin' live now? But it's our only choice. You know, Chiron, Aries is like life and death, right? It's like the impulse of conception, of life coming into form. It's a very, very powerful energy. And it's like before we even came into form, just think about it. All of the agendas that have gone into us not being able to fully live from the moment we come into our mother's body, toxins, and then the birth practices and the dramas and the traumas and the division. And it's just like, everything. But listen, think about this. Think of all the mechanisms through thousands of years they've done to keep us from what? Life force, which is a force of nature. It's what animates all life. It's source energy. It's free energy. And it's organic and it's growing, our access to it and our permission for it, whereas all their control energies have to be mechanically maintained with money and resources. And so that's where we're at right now. And it's like that thing of like, oh, wow, got to get out of here. And then turning around and it's just exploded into nothing. This is Pluto. I mean, 3 whole months pretty much of Pluto in conjunction with personal planets. And so, like I said, so Pluto is the wrecking ball. It breaks down, it's transformation, but it doesn't wreck what, that's that standing in truth and righteous truth of the energetic energies of supporting life that can't be wrecked, And so it's in Capricorn, Pluto and Capricorn, it's the structures of our life that are getting completely broken down and transformed. And it's a beautiful energy. But like I said, when you get to that place where you don't even know you have a skin, but something feels really uncomfortable and you got to shed it, that's where we're at. And in that place of transformation, especially with all this mutable energy, it's like, okay, I have no choice but to move forward, but it's completely unknown and uncomfortable. I don't know who I am. The ground isn't there under my feet. I mean, we are rearranging on every single level of structure of our society and our psyche at the same time. And that's the thing, when you go deep enough inside, which these retrogrades are asking us to do, you come to that place of stillness, of that oneness. It's like if you go deep enough inside your heart and your sacred space inside, you end up out there. We have everything inside of us. So that's what these times are asking of us to do, to come back to that place, to meditate, to pray, to center, to just finally prioritize what makes us be able to function in our optimal way, and to always, with everything that happens, every conflict, every situation, coming back first to that place of center, and then address or move from that place. And it's not a time to move. It's not a time to take action right now. For the next month, it's pretty much like, boop, I mean, maybe this is our near-death experience in a way, because it's almost like the life force, even though what this is all about is reclaiming life force, but it's almost like it's going to this place of like a basal center heartbeat, where it's just kind of a maintaining of an energy as we slip through this portal into our new reality. And so it's that thing of like, put your cosmic seatbelt on, sit back, get your popcorn, and be in this place of the truth of who you really are. All that you haven't expressed that's inside of you, that's driving you crazy and making you feel so uncomfortable, that's your problem, supernova souls. But now we're in this in-between time where, okay, so over there on the other side of this, there's more support for the truth of my expression. But right now, it's like we're hogtied and we can't do anything. It's that hanged man card. Because if you try, it's almost like we are in that portal, and in the portal, you can't change direction. I mean, the whole thing is about changing direction, but you can't just like say, oh, I'm going to go this way now, because you're in the portal. You can only go from A to B. It's like a lack of choices, because we're all going, and maybe that could be helpful in that bigger picture, because it really does say, this astrology is saying we have turned the corner. Then we're coming out of the energy of everything working against health and life and healing and love and spirituality. So it's encouraging and yet incredibly uncomfortable at the same time. So it's the pressure's building, because we're talking about these Pluto transits, and Pluto is life, death, rebirth, transformation, and a complete letting go. So Really interesting that this Venus retrograde, 3 whole weeks of Pluto and Venus together, and then Venus turned retrograde. Now, Venus turns direct on the 29th of January, but it still has to come out of its retrograde shadow and have its third and final, or its next period of time with Pluto at the end of February. So it's not till the beginning of March, end of February, that we're really going to feel like we're coming out of this. So 6 weeks. Can you give yourself 6 weeks? I know we've been in the cave for 2 years, and it's really not getting any easier or more comfortable, but we got to finish out what we started. There's no going back. We're stuck in the birth canal. But the big energy we're feeling right now, and it's such a juxtaposition, right? Because it's like Jupiter tomorrow, Thursday, moving into new territory, into 3 degrees, dreaming a new dream, opening up the expansive possibilities of creating a different reality and vibrational resonance and spiritual truth. And it's really, really beautiful. But at the same time, it's like, oh, double retrograde. You thought you were getting somewhere. Rewind. We got to do it again because we might have missed the exit. So we got to go back and make sure that we're going to shoot. When we do shoot off, we're going to go in an absolute right direction for our heart and soul and truth and our optimal timeline, which is exactly in alignment with the divine timeline. So these are huge energies coming through with this full moon coming up in next week. That's on the 17th. And the full moon is in Cancer. And so for the full moon, the sun is going to be in conjunction with Pluto. The moon will be opposite Pluto. This is really powerful because the sun and the moon in this kind of configuration, the full moon is about a reflection. So the sun is, who do you think you are? It's like our identity, personality. And then the moon is our emotional self. So it's like relating back to ourselves. And then Pluto's like, it's all false. Go look in the mirror. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's just like, you've been living lies. We all have been. Our whole history is a complete and total lie. And that's part of the beautiful but very weird times that we're in, as our life, our reality gets more and more like a movie. In order for us to understand, our whole matrix reality is a movie. And then we have to go back to writing the script, except for that we can't write it with our lower ego because we just keep getting stuck in the corner. We have to write it with our higher ego, with that direct connection to source from that place of center. So anything you do right now, any decision you make, simplest decisions to the biggest decisions, it's like, hold tight, wait, we're in a rearranging, step back, be in presence, meet everything that's coming at you right now from that place of like, wait a minute, I got to slow down. I got to be present. We're in a massive rearranging, and that will help, and it's so funny because it's like, well, slow down, think it through. Don't be present. But then it's like, also you have to surrender everything and let it all go. So it's like that very, very, like I said, beautiful but uncomfortable place of birth and creation. But an absolute validation of all the work we've done to get to this point, and that we already flipped. Us supernova souls, we've already turned that corner. And this is our rearranging moment. To be ready, because 2022 is about like, we got to get going on how we want to see our world. And the energies are going to support it in ways you wouldn't imagine, though. And maybe that's this rearranging. And that really fits the Sun-Pluto conjunction. Now, that happens on the 16th, exact, the day before the full moon. The full moon happens at 27 degrees, 51 minutes. So 2 and 7 is 9, and it's exactly talking to the end of the cycle. And Pluto Sun, it's like, it's the end of you. It's like we talk about the world as we know it. Well, then it's the end of us as we know it in our identity. Massive identity crisis. Then we're having our, a complete rewind and reevaluation of all of the structures of our life, because Venus retrograde is about love, what we care about, family, community, our deepest vulnerabilities, what we really want, what makes us feel safe. And so it's always about love relationships, Venus retrograde, and past energies that haven't been resolved, and then Mercury retrograde is about our mind, And so both of those retrogrades put those planets in an extended time with Pluto. So it's like a complete transformation and breakdown of our love relationships and our relationship to love and family and community and everything that we thought we wanted, you know? So, because Venus is like, what do you want? What do you really want? What do you value? What's most important to you? And so then the Pluto energy with Mercury retrograde is about the, breaking down, really awesome opportunity to break down mind control and anything in our psyche that is influencing us. Okay. So this is powerful because the way we get out of this trap of the matrix is recognizing the energies around us that want to influence us and distract us. And we have to find our own mind, which is not the supercomputer game. It's about the God mind and that creation. That's why it's so powerful to go to that place of center and peace. And those holy night meditations might be good to redo those because we really did access that place. And so you can kind of cement that into your reality and be like, wait a minute, I'm working from here. It's hard because Capricorn, it's like Capricorn is discriminatory and also is going to reevaluate and think things through. And so it's like, but it's also that, okay, so recognizing how much we've been manipulated and then trying to protect yourself, but also not shut down the possibilities and opportunities. And the only way we can do that is to come back again and again and live our life from that place of center to make sure that our mind is our mind and our thoughts are our thoughts and our love is our love and our energy is our energy. And so maybe that's what all this Pluto stuff is about. But the Pluto Sun conjunction is this. So the Sun is who do you think you are? And in Capricorn, it's the structures of our identity. Ugh. And an absolute total breakdown. No wonder we're feeling so uncomfortable. Like the ground is not under our feet. We're having that massive bloom of confusion that happened back in spring of 2020 when the nodes shifted over into Gemini and Sagittarius. It's just so intense. And so the Sun Pluto peaks out, like I said, on the 16th. And we start to feel that this week, though, right when Mercury turns retrograde. Again, it's like this lining up. You can't take any of the pieces of astrology and make any sense. You got to put it all together like the pieces of a puzzle to create a whole world. And I have to say, this is a confusing, absolutely transformational, upside down reality flip. So it absolutely all fits. And we'll feel that Sun conjunct Pluto until the 19th. And that is the day that, so then we'll have that full moon on the 17th. And that's very powerful because it's like this culmination. We're building into this energy this whole week of like Sun, Pluto, full moon. Right? So it's like you cannot get away from the reflection of your shadow or your emotional side or whatever's not in alignment with the absolute truth of who you are. Well, that's perfect because we've got Black Moon, Lilith square Neptune, and Pallas Athene. Is it time for us to claim spiritual, true justice in our life? Because we know now we're sovereign. We've been playing the games like we need those authoritarian energies to tell us if it's okay to move forward in our evolution, which they're never going to tell us it's okay. Oh, not quite time. Oh, not quite time. We need a little bit more genocide, need a little bit more satanic ritual abuse while we pretend to tell you that we're actually getting somewhere, right? It's not going to happen until we stand up in our power. We cannot get permission. But see, the planets and the stars and the evolution are working in our favor. Doesn't seem like it sometimes, but these are aspects of ourself, and time moves, and we're so just thinking about that. It's like the reins of our natural, organic, spiritual evolution began to held back through massive control mechanisms all the way back in Atlantean time. And now we're going to take the reins back and run with it ourselves and feel safe and feel adequate and feel comfortable and feel like confident in doing that. Not with Mercury and Venus retrograde Mercury and Venus retrograde. So, it's kind of, you can see where we're at in this massive thing that's super exciting on some level. And maybe that's in that place of that centered place in your God mind, that you can come back to that perspective. Oh, it's all about holding us back, and nothing can hold us back anymore. But it's not that comfortable and it's unknown. But there is an excitement here of what's to come, because the astrology of March and moving into 20, that's really when we're going to start feeling the 2022 energies. There's just so much support for creation and creating a new life. And Venus and Mars coming together in conjunction for quite a few weeks in March. And so it's kind of like, okay, wait a minute. Whoa, what's going on? We're all out here and I don't know. And then it's like, click, things are going to try to click into that new timeline. So we really want to use this time to our advantage. Don't get lost in it. Don't get, Venus retrograde has a tendency to be really get stuck in victimization type energies, like, oh my God, this is, and it's easy. And that's part of the reason why, like, astrology, if these aspects of the planets are inside of us and we're working together in this evolution, then that doesn't really fit. But indeed, we have been so manipulated and controlled. And maybe that's part of the feelings we need to go resolve in order to come back into our empowerment. And so the other energy that's really interesting is that the sun, so the sun is coming, Juno is going to be conjuncting Pluto too. And Juno, this kind of clarifies, but also throws a wrench in this whole energy. Juno is about our commitments and where our commitments lie and our loyalties. And it's something that has been a big part. Like the Piscean age, most of the pain that you experienced as a supernova soul in your dark Kali Yuga incarnations had to do with betrayal. So Juno is about loyalty and commitment, but also betrayal. And so we're healing all this. And like, can I really commit to anything? And where have my commitments been? Because in order to survive in this earth, we've had to be committed to that bullshit paradigm, right? Like, yeah, you got to pay your electric bill. We own you. Oh, and we have all your passwords. Oh, we'll make one for you. It's fine. Oh, we're in control of all, it's this absolute technological tyranny that we're dealing with right now, and but it can't continue in the new energies. So you can feel that. And that might be part of the intensity of this time, the Pluto energy. It's like, yeah, we can't go do it that way anymore. And we're not quite ready. There's nothing to catch us in the future, but we have to have a complete and total breakdown of all the structures of who we thought we were and what we thought we were doing and what our life is about. And so Juno, with this energy of reevaluating with Pluto's the destroyer, the breaker down, and so that, and transformation. So it's like transformation of our commitments. So for supernova souls, this Juno, Sun, Juno, and Juno, Pluto conjunctions through the second half of January are about reevaluating our commitments. And so it's a lot about in Venus retrograde relationship energies. And where have we not resolved our loyalties? Because we've all been in these karmic relationships where our loyalties were, we want to be good, we want to be loyal, we want to have a healthy relationship, but it meant putting our spiritual path aside, And again, it's coming to the structure. So it's like we're kind of being asked to only be loyal to what is supportive of our full expression. It's not even so much about our spiritual path. It's about, I'm not going to half live anymore. I'm not going to turn down my juice to make you feel more comfortable so that I can maintain some sort of, a situation that is what everybody else is doing. It's just not sustainable. And so we're reevaluating, and that's not very comfortable either, because it's like, oh, the one little bit of comfort you have, except for that it's never been actually supporting you. Like a lot of our family relationships, family that doesn't really seem like family, and relationships that are about distracting us from our spiritual purpose. And so this is all on the table. And if there's a relationship you got out of, but you haven't quite resolved and gotten the peace back of yourself that they have, this is kind of what this Venus retrograde is about. So the first conjunction in this play of Sun, Juno, Pluto is the Sun and Juno come together, and we're feeling that this week. That's the whole energy of this week. We've got the Mercury about to turn retrograde, but sextile Chiron, like it's okay, we can do this. This is about our power, and we're going to take it back. We're going to find the energy inside to do the inner work, to take back our power and our life and our life force. And then, so Sun Juno is like, all right, so what in your life and your personality constructs and the structures of your reality are actually in support of your full expression of living, because that's the only path forward for you. I've talked about this in supernova birth charts. It's like, yeah, you could complete your karma. And that's like, cool, I can get out of this earth experience. I don't have to be here if I don't want to. I could come if I want, but it's like, it's not about that. You're not done till you're done. And you're not done until you fully express your full potential. And we're being asked to do that in physical bodies in this dimension. That's how we get into the next dimensions. So, this is putting the massive pressure on that transformational energy on all levels of our life. And Juno coming in being like, oh yeah, so you're a very loyal person. You're good. This is supernova souls in general. As you evolve as a soul, because your empathy evolves, and then you like really want to honor the other person. You know what it feels like. You don't want to create betrayal energies. And you would do everything to keep from that. But are your loyalties to the energy of life and expression and fullness? Because if they're not, they're going to be breaking down. And so this week, Sun Juno. So this is like your personality constructs, identity constructs, and then your commitments. So it's about really we're being asked to reaffirm our commitment to our full expression, which is source, which is God, which is spiritual evolution, which is the whole reason why we came. That changes everything for supernova souls. Because like everything that's wrong in your life is actually what's right about you. All of your potential that's not being expressed, which is exactly this, like, take the gag order off of the feminine with this Black Moon Lilith in Gemini in square to Neptune and Pisces. It's like the gag order that was put on the feminine when the scrolls got buried in those ancient feminine mysteries got hidden, and we all got buried as well, a part of ourselves in shame. And is that why we played out so many dark stories in the Piscean age? And it's like, that's not our shame to carry. It's huge energy here around getting out of the personal stories of the past. Like that, those persecution energies were not about attacking you personally. It's just whoever's going to show up in the light is going to get persecuted. So we don't need to carry the shame. It's not ours to carry. We didn't do these dark art acts. It was a reaction to the light that we were bringing. And so we got to stop blaming ourselves and get out from under the shadows and get to actually living. And so Sun, Juno are commitments to our higher self, lower self, and other people. And so that's really powerful. Now, Juno, then the Sun comes into Pluto. So it's interesting. Sun, Juno will come together, and then Sun, Pluto for that full moon next week. And then Juno and Pluto will come together from the 23rd to the 25th. And so it's a very powerful for the whole second half of January. We've got double retrograde. We've got absolute confusion of direction. And we've got a complete and total breakdown of every structural perspective on every level of our reality. So put your seatbelt, buckle up, buttercup. And we'll just kind of see how this plays out, but a really good time to get together for this full moon and reaffirm this place of center and reaffirm this place of like, I'm coming from this place and my loyalty lies here with source, creation, and the full expression of life, which is supporting life and loving and healing and everything you always tried to bring, except you got persecuted and you carried that shame and you've taken it inside and it's become a disease. And it's that deepest, darkest, the health issues of supernova souls is because you're not expressing what's inside of you. And so all of this is about breaking that down. And it sounds so good from this side. Oh, a life where I'm supported in my expression. That sounds so good. But it's so different. It's a 180-degree turn. And it's kind of that Stockholm syndrome. It's like, okay, the gates are open. You don't have to play by those rules anymore. No, but I really hate these rules, but they make me feel comfortable. It's what I used to. I'm attached to it. It's all I know. I don't know if I can survive without these constructs, So this is where we're at, and coming back to this mutable energy, mutable square, and Jupiter square the nodes. And it's like, what it feels like to me, it's like, hold tight. Don't make any big moves or decisions right now. Come from this place of center, because there's this massive rearranging going on. And when you're in that portal, you can't change directions. You've already set your course. Now you have to let the fallout. You have to be brave. You have to go to that, into this inner place of strength and center and determination. This is Mercury's turning retrograde, but in sextile to Chiron in Aries, it's determination. You say, I'm going to live. And that is exactly how we overcome death and we become immortal. This is what we're moving into. The control energy, going back to this bigger picture of like, it's all been about holding back our spiritual evolution. And the way they've done that is by shortening our lifespan so that we can't attain a spiritual truth in one life. And we have to start all the way over. Plus, we're all messed up from all the karmic timeline distortions and persecution energies. And so it's just like this place of, and ironically, when you fully claim life and like, I'm going to live fully or not, then you've overcome death. And that's what they've never wanted us to be strong enough to do. And that's why healers have been persecuted, right? Because if you get that healing and miracle healing and you experience that, then you're not scared of death. If you have a connection to source and spirit, like true spiritual, not religion and control, but true spiritual energies, you don't fear death anymore. And this is what the whole point of all of the control energies have been about. You cannot control a society that's not scared, And that's who you are. Like, this is supernova soul. You are poised for a grand adventure because you have overcome these fears. And you've gone to hell and back. And you were incarnated in the Piscean age. It's interesting because there's these higher beings that are like, oh, here, I want to help you, humanity, like where we've given, again, loyalties to something that's not as high as where we came from. And it's like, I think the highest on the totem pole is those souls that came from an advanced evolution, but weren't scared to go to the deepest nitty gritty. Do you see we have the power? And so maybe part of this Pluto thing is like a revealing of all those authority, because Capricorn, right? It's authority structures. So we're talking galactic authority structures. And these energies are like, oh, humanity, oh, dear one, let us help you through this. I mean, meaning holding you back to make sure you never know that you had the power that we're using to hold you back. It's like, okay, we're going direct to source, and we're going to go on God's plan and the divine plan, and we're claiming back our righteous truth of fully living in our divine timeline. And if you're not with us, you're against us. And it's almost like I can see these phantom energies that we've been like investing in and letting ourselves be influenced by, and they're just evaporating like Oz behind the curtain. There was no power actually there at all. It was a phantom created by our own power to be used against us in this crazy movie. And so it's really hard right now because life is such a movie, but it's like, what if it's a movie to show us we've been in a movie the whole time and we got really invested in our parts? So that's powerful because Pluto's sun is breaking down our identities, right? And it's like this energy of like, well, yeah, I just came here as a spiritual being to play a role and go through this interesting experience. But then we're like, oh my God, and then this drama happened, and I gotta make up for it, and I gotta heal these people, and I gotta, oh my God, it's all my fault, you know? It's like, whoa, you know? Um, how do we get back to who we really are on the other side of the screen? And that's the perfect storm of this astrology, and really peaks out for that Cancer full moon, because Cancer is about nurturing and rebirthing and loving and the mother. And it's such a beautiful energy. Um, and yet we've got Sun Pluto, so um, it's like a breakdown of all that's old and false and very, very uncomfortable, but so that we can birth that new. And so, supernova souls, thank you for being here and being present. And we have done the hardest part. Keep telling yourself that this next stretch is not going to be easy. It's the karmic shitstorm. But you're ready for this. You're fully prepared. And this is this Chiron transit. It's like, okay, Mercury, Venus retrograde, no problem. Got this, because you've already come so far, and nothing can take away your connection to your own source and your power. We made it through the darkest dark, and we're here to receive that light on our DNA. We have the codes in our DNA to receive the light, to start transforming our world into light, our physical body and the earth. And so in order to fully step into your new role in the new movie, gotta let all that shit go. And it's really, really scary and unknown. And it's that leap of faith. So we got the hangman stuck in upside down and backwards, but still in a yoga pose, getting enlightenment, and the tower card, everything that we thought was true, breaking down around us. And the fool, the 0 point of being like, there's only one way to go, and there's an abyss. But you're not scared. This is the thing. These times is where we face our deepest fears, supernova soul, and it isn't dying, and it isn't the fear energies and all that. It's like your deepest fear is your full potential. So this astrology is taking you to those places, the deepest, darkest depths of your psyche, where you shut yourself down. And there's no other choice but to come out, that butterfly out of the cocoon, and bloom. There's no other choice. You're even beyond really deciding that you're going to go get recycled and do it all over again. You can't do that. You made it too far, so you're stuck. And that's energy. It's like, oh, we made it too far. We're stuck, but we can't go anywhere or do anything or figure anything out or make any decisions or point in any direction. But at least we're here together. And can you tap into that center? Can you tap into the mystical, magical amazingness of this connection, this astrology? It's overwhelming, but it's like beautiful because it's a turning point that we thought we'd never get to. And you can feel it. The energies are really powerful right now. And so they're asking us to operate outside of time. And the only way to do that is to come back to this meditation, prayer center place where the cosmos is within you. And you're just going to rest there and you're going to wait. It feels like we're dissolving into nothing, but it's just waiting for the energy to shift so that we are going to move to the next thing. And isn't it beautiful that it's finally shifting, even though it's uncomfortable and unknown? And then tapping into this, as Jupiter gets going and comes out of the square with the nodes, and the nodes shift signs. So the nodes shift signs on the 19th. And that's such a powerful day because, like I said, that's when the Sun Pluto influence comes off. That's when the nodes move over to Taurus and Scorpio. And I'll have more information out about that soon. I'm working on a video. And then it's also the day that the Saturn square Uranus, the 2021 astrology, comes off. So these influences from the last couple of years haven't even come off yet. So no wonder we're in between. And then on that 19th, that's when it all shifts. But we're still in double retrograde. And this mutable T-square with Black Moon Lilith Neptune. That's going to go through the first week of March. So that makes February all about a rewind and retrograde and reworking and reimagining. It's funny though, because how sometimes you'll get into a project. This is what I'm seeing kind of because Capricorn's an earth sign and they like to be organized. And it's like, when you get into a project, like, well, I'm just going to do this one corner of my room. Maybe I'm going to paint this wall or I'm going to do this thing. And then you start getting into the project like, no, I got to clean it all out and I got to start all over. And I might even take out this wall. And then you're like months into the project that was going to be like the weekend project. And that's exactly where we are. And this is the project. But the project's already been created. And it's like a jewel treasure right there in your heart. Because the work what you came here to express that you haven't been able to express, you didn't learn in this lifetime. You came in, you've worked on it for many, many lifetimes and evolutions, and it is like gold. So it's like maybe that sculptor that's uncovering, breaking down, but like taking away the outside parts so that the form can reveal itself, the new form of your life and our reality. So thanks so much for being here. I hope to see y'all have information out about that full moon. That's going to be next Monday, the 17th. And so let's get together for an activation and really be in that energy of being, instead of that victimization of the wrecking ball coming into your life and destroying everything, being like more of an active participant and present and bringing that awareness of your higher loyalties in with your direct connection to source and your highest self, and the only choice that lies ahead, which is full expression and fully living. No more half-ass, almost dying, and that's what this is about. And so that Cancer full moon can help us rebirth and get comfortable with the uncomfortable, and let it all just fall away. That's no longer serving. So I look forward to seeing you soon, and have a wonderful week. And I'll see you on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.